Alrighty, hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. Today is a video about my time in Wyoming. So I'm going to talk about 10 things I learned working as a horse wrangler slash trail guide. Number one is the biggest one. I learned a lot of saddle knowledge. Now, I grew up riding horses with my grandpa, but it was every, couple months, sometimes every 6 months, just depending on how busy I was when I was younger. But obviously, I knew what a saddle was, I knew how to saddle a horse, but I didn't know all of the specific names of each individual part. And I will be honest, I still don't. But while I was over there, I learned a lot about saddle knowledge, and I learned more than just the horn, the saddle, the stirrups, the bridle, I learned all the smaller parts of the saddle. So that is number one. Number two, I realized how much strength it takes to throw 50 saddles on horses each day, twice a day. That was definitely hard for me at first because, each saddle weighs different depending on the horse, and we also had quite a few big draft horses that we'd have to throw saddles on. Luckily, their saddles were lighter, but takes a lot of strength, and I've definitely gained a lot of muscle after being there and throwing those saddles. Number three, since I didn't grow up having horses in my backyard per se, I had never dealt with a colicking horse, and while I was out there, I dealt with two of them where they were almost, they were showing signs of colicking. So I learned that, which I feel like is so helpful for me for when I do have my own horse, that I will kind of know what to do and what to look for. So that is number three. Number four, this one I kind of already knew because my grandpa taught me how to ride, and he's a very good rider and has been doing it his whole life. But number four is the importance of staying centered in your saddle. Taking people that have never ridden horses before up a mountain was definitely challenging, and I constantly had to remind them that they had to stay centered, keeping equal pressure in both of your stirrups where your feet are, and that'll help from your saddle slipping, because when I took people on rides, I did have a couple times where they slipped and fell off the horse because they weren't keeping equal pressure. So that is number four. It is very important to stay centered in your saddle. Number five is hard work. Now, I've had a lot of hard jobs and I've worked many different jobs, but working with horses like I was is the hardest work I have ever done. And I realized that as I was out there. It was very rewarding and I loved it. And it didn't feel, like a job that I just wanted to be done with. But it definitely is very hard work working with horses and, customer service as well. So that's number five. Number seven is how different horses are from one another. The way I grew up, I don't remember the horses my grandpa had when I was little, but the two horses that him and I have been riding for a long time, I've gotten familiar with them, and of course they both have their own personality, but when you're around as many horses as I was out there, you really realize how different they are, especially with me riding. I rode maybe 10 different horses throughout that time of being in Wyoming, and my first horse that I rode, she did not like her nose being touched at first because she got sunburnt last summer, and she was a lot faster and just very different from the horse I rode last before I left. He was very skittish and he actually bucked me off one day. And not only that, he was shorter, he walked differently, and he was not as friendly of a horse compared to other ones. So I really learned that they're very different. They're just like us and dogs combined. That's what I say, is they're a mix of human and dog, big dogs. So that's number seven. Or six. That is number six. I don't know how I skipped to seven. Now for number seven, this is something I didn't know before I worked this job. I didn't know what plow reining was. I mean, I've seen, horses pull buggies and wagons and all that, but I didn't know that that was what plow reining was, or, what it was called. And so a couple of our drafts out there that pulled our wagons also took people on trail rides, and they were both plow reins. So I learned what that was, and so that is a really fun thing to learn about. So, and I did also ride one horse named Bell Bottoms, and she was also plow rein. So it was very interesting because I've never ridden that way. I've always ridden horses that are neck reined, so it was very different experience. Number 8 is kind of a smaller thing I learned. As far as the latigo, that you put through to tighten the cinch, that I'd always just, looped it through. That's what I was taught. And then, use the hook to hook it in the holes. But while I was out there, I learned how to do a Texas T, which I've heard a lot about on the internet. I've heard a lot of controversy on whether or not people do that, but to each their own. I didn't mind doing the Texas T, but I think when I get my own horse, I'll just keep doing what my grandpa taught me. But while you're doing a job like I was, the Texas T is the easiest and fastest, especially, when you're tightening people's cinches at cinch checks before you go up the mountain. So number 9 is I learned a lot of terms that I didn't know before working this job, which kind of ties into number 1, saddle knowledge, because latigo, I never called it a latigo. So that was one of the, an example of a term I didn't know before. As well as colicking, I didn't actually really know what that meant. I mean, I knew it was something bad that happened to horses, and I knew it was something in the gut, but I didn't know exactly what it meant for the horse. So that's another example of a term that I didn't know before. And number 10, this is just an overall kind of something I learned or accomplished, is just a better seat. I left with a better seat because I was riding every day, and so I really got better at just, I feel so much more confident on a horse than I did before, because before I was only riding every couple months, and so being able to ride every single day really helped with my horsemanship and the way I sat in my saddle. So those are 10 things I learned working as a horse wrangler / trail guide in Wyoming. And if you guys want to know more about it, please comment below, how I got the job and what I exactly thought about it. And as always, I appreciate you guys watching. I really hope you enjoy me talking about horses, because that is my biggest passion, is just all things horses. So again, thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe so you guys can see more videos. I will be putting out lots and lots now that I'm home. So thanks again, and I will see you guys in the next video.